I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:32. And I want to welcome Marlena McNamee, who is our new recording secretary, or whatever your official name is. And thank her for taking this work on. It's important that we have a good and accurate record of our meetings. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right, hearing none, I'm going to invite public comment. You have 2 minutes to say what you need to say, and we're glad to listen. Is there anyone who would like to speak in public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into reports. The first report is the superintendent's report.
I have a lot to say tonight, so I'm going to be very efficient. I want to talk briefly. We just completed a 3-day leadership retreat. All the principals, directors, we met locally. We spent a day kind of addressing some of our larger issues, fluency, student handbooks. We did a 2-hour training with Attorney Atwood around hazing, harassment, and bullying. We also spent an entire day looking at the through line of our work from what happens in the central office through to what happens to the student experience. So really thinking about that. We also began the work again with our new build group. We're going to hear more from Seth, board member. I did want to speak to Summer Soak. I'm just counting this morning. This was either the 11th or 12th year. We had at least 209 students attend. That's half of our elementary population. The number of families with kids at Soak or mini Soak were 148. Did we turn any kids away? Absolutely not. And of the students who attended, 68 students received a scholarship so they could attend. I think it's really important to note that Summer Soak is funded complete, not with tax dollars, all through grants, and we have some amazing grant partners as well as parent registration. So it is so much fun to look out the window and so seeing high school students in cars, to see kids biking and running around in tutus and all those kinds of things. It's a really great experience, and they had a great summer. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions for Sherry?
I'll add that Summer Soak was awesome. My one child that was in it, but it's great every year, and it's such a big community. So thanks to Devin and all the people who do that.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, are there any other directors who would like to give a report?
And most of the directors have been on vacation, so
Okay.
this is a quiet time.
That's good. That's very good. Unfortunately, neither student representative is here. I believe Lila might be in Scotland
She's in Scotland.
with the Yo Theater Group, which remind me, I then want to talk to you about that afterwards. All right, then we'll go to the time scheduled appointments, starting with the strategic plan.
So I'm just going to pull up my screen. As board members know, annually, we as a leadership team look at the strategic plan goals and create a plan for the year on the things, the pieces of work we are going to focus in on. That happened during our leadership retreat. So I'm just going to walk through this, and you have a copy in the board book. We will continue to do the work around pathways, especially focusing on the middle school and high school. This year, our new strategies are working to identify new pathways at the high school. We received a grant to help us kind of look at a crosswalk between the courses we offer and the professional opportunities for students post-graduation. We will communicate with students and families with a broad range of opportunities. Lots of things are happening at the middle school and high school programmatically. We need to get better at communicating, especially in a way that students can hear. So traditional print, our handbook, course catalog, those are for my generation. Students don't look at that. So really looking at what are the ways that we can communicate to students all the different opportunities they have. And then we'll continue to work to create opportunities to ensure student agency and intentionality for post-secondary planning. Elliot and I were part of the group who went to South Tucson, started some work there, and I know Principal Cinquamati is really working on that work. Vibrant homeschool community partnerships. looking at, and you heard the presentation from the Barnard team around the family and educators together team. That with Melissa today, that will be expanding to all the elementary schools. Melissa completed a grant that would help to support that programming, including stipends for the teachers, meals, and childcare. So that work will continue. And then our new assistant principal at the high school, Chris, will be joining that team to see how we can put that in place at the middle school, high school. In terms of culture of belonging, purpose and joy, new strategies, support student attendance across all schools. One of the pieces of work we did on retreat is really looking at our truancy policies and attendance. Again, how do we communicate that well to parents in terms of expectations, impact at the high school in terms of credits? Bring back and create opportunities for students to celebrate. That was a real push in this last school year, not only with our fine arts and music, but lots of opportunities for parents to come back to the building, want to continue to do their work. And then investigate and implement a broader range of opportunities to develop student voice and acknowledge student contribution. So those student celebrations. In terms of the safe and supportive school environments, ensuring consistent meeting schedules for building-based social emotional learning teams. Different schools are different in different ways, and we really want to make sure there's consistency there. We're also looking at what does the support look like at our different elementary schools, and how do we make sure there's a good bridge to middle school and high school. Provide planning and resources to ensure that all of our campuses are healthy and safe school environments. That's part of the work that I will be to support the new builds working group. And then advocating for greater community-based SEL resources. Was recently invited to a team of community organizers to develop a team where we look at families in crisis in a more global way. And so that work will continue as we develop more partnerships with our community neighbors. And then foundational systems. Jim has not given up on the financial strategic plan, and he's got some partners in that work. We keep hitting that drum, and we're gonna get there, right, Jim?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
And then fully implement our new onboarding platform. This last year, we looked at all the different ways we hire people, whether it's licensed teachers, support staff, someone in our kitchen, our building team, and how do we make sure that we have a really coherent system, and looking at a platform for that. The next piece of work is really how do we make sure we prepare people for entering whatever position they have within this district, something we can definitely get better at. So those are our proposed goals, and who are the project managers, a little more detailed if you want to look at it for our strategic, and those will be the topics we'll present on over the course of this school year.
Thank you. Any questions for Sherry? Comments? All right, thank you very much. The next appointment here is the presentation of the 25-26 board work plan.
Do you want to pull that up?
Sure.
That will take a minute.
All right, so the board plan really is a spreadsheet that shows what topics we'll be discussing in our meetings, what certain deadlines are, things around the budget, and it's a place where when someone asks us to put something on the agenda, we can take a look at what's already there and better place it. If there's a sense of urgency, sometimes we move things around. And that's the work that Sherry and John and I do when we have our weekly meetings. I believe you were all given a
Well,
I think you all got a copy of this through Sherry,
right.
right? So if you hadn't opened it yet, that's really what it is. It's the planning for each board meeting.
And this is last year's, there was a new board work plan, but you can see how things are mapped out over the course of the year. When do we look at data? When do we look at the budget? When do we have different appointments? So this is the, when's our special meeting? So this was the work plan from last year. And that will be filled out in the same way, and you have access to that work plan.
So if you're wondering what's coming up in a meeting, you have the ability to see that. And even ask questions ahead of time if you aren't sure what something is all about. Any questions? All right, next Sherry's going to present a really exciting new idea for our district called the Southeast Region BOCES. And we will be taking a vote to either support the Articles of Agreement or to say no, or not at this time.
So this is a project I've been working on for the last 5 years. This is a work with all the superintendents in the southeast corner of Vermont. And previous to being superintendent was Director of Student Support Services, and have been a special educator in this state for over 30 years. And what I've recognized is that the resources that we used to have are really become, in terms of support, technical support, professional, even the people who are applying for positions have really declined over the years. And so we had been part of the Hartford Collaborative previously and had this opportunity to create what we now call Vermont Learning Collaborative. And so what it is an opportunity for us to come together as a collection of districts and have greater buying power. So we can hire positions, we can bring in experts, we can look at the different pieces of work. So a year and a half ago, a little over a year ago, the Vermont legislature passed a bill to create BOCES, and people in New York are very familiar with that in terms of, again, a formal structure for districts to come together and share in this work. So we are at the point now where the Vermont Learning Collaborative, we've been in place as a collaborative, this will be our 3rd year, where we are applying to be a BOCES. We are the first region to actually make this application. We've been working with the Agency of Education over the course of the year to flesh out that legislation to create these articles of agreement. Much we've brought from Massachusetts. Our current director is from Massachusetts and some other states, so that we have this structure that we can then apply for the status in BOCES. So I just wanted to go through this presentation really quickly. We're now called the Vermont Learning Collaborative because previously there was no structure for us to be part of. Here are the other school district supervisory unions that are part of this: Springfield, Two Rivers, Wyndham Northeast, Wyndham Central, Wyndham Southeast, and Wyndham Southwest are currently all members of the Vermont Learning Collaborative. You can see these are our current board of directors. I'm the vice president. Christine Bourne, who's from Windsor Southeast, is the president. Andy Haas is the treasurer, and we have other representation from other districts as well as from special ed directors. So the vision, and I'm sorry, it's hard to see. I'm just going to change this to a different, there we go. So the vision is for high quality educational and therapeutic programs, evaluations, and related services. So we have a model in this district of having intensive services within our district. It's a model that we developed with Hartford's help 20 years ago. We have to maintain and make sure those programs continue to be at a high level, making sure we have outside support to really look at our program, evaluate, give us feedback. That is one of the things the Learning Collaborative has done for us. Having high quality professional development so that we train our teachers that are coming in, special educators, not with the caliber of work or coursework that used to be expected. And so we are spending a lot of resources bringing in that training and making sure that our special educators are at the level that we expect to provide programming. Staffing services for supervisory unions. So when we post a position, we don't have the buying power or the spread as if you had it with 6 other supervisory unions. So they are able to post a position in many different places, do the vetting, and help us locate people for those positions. Other activities as determined by the board of directors. So we look at other places, they are developing some programs, intensive needs, kind of like our PALS and community classroom and other districts that don't have that work. Coordination of resources. So I might need a part-time speech language pathologist, and Windsor Southeast needs another half. So we're able to come together and find someone for those 2 half positions. They help us do that work. And then other needs as authorized by Title 16. So this is the process that we've gone through as the Vermont Learning Collaborative. It's taken us a number of years to get to this position. We hired our first executive director in 23. We've expanded our programming across in the last year, and we've really found some opportunities for some cost-saving resources, such as professional development, mandated training suite, special ed evaluations and services, and de-escalation training. So the cost savings, and I can speak to this. One of the things that we tout for being part of our school district are the number of students we're able to serve within the district. We know when students can stay closest to home and in their communities, we have the highest opportunities of growth and movement off an individual education plan. And so we've been able to really keep our numbers of outer district placements, whether day or residential, to one of the lowest in the state, because we have those high level of services. We also are able to work with outside evaluators. We may need an evaluation. We might have to wait 6 months because our staff is overstaffed. We can tap someone from the Vermont Learning Collaborative to do their work. So it makes us much more efficient. We get information quicker, and we get a second and third opinion when we may be stuck on a case. It's really nice to have another set of eyes and expertise. They work as a consultant. Last year, Jill Graham, who's the director, came in and reviewed all our special education services, spent time in every one of our buildings and made recommendations. We're looking at a brand new model at the middle school and high school. Jill was very involved in facilitating that conversation about how can we provide services differently when we have a shortage of staff, we have students with different needs. So we've really, and professional development, there used to be an attorney up in Burlington who would train us every single year in special ed law, new cases, 504, all that. That person is retired, and that's been a huge hole. People are not getting that training. And so the Vermont Collaborative brought Dina Atwood, and she's been doing trainings all last year online so that people can be current and statute. It's easy to get a little behind. So why are we moving from this collaborative to a BOCES, a Board of Cooperative Education Services? It's an educational service agency, provides shared resources and responsive solutions to meet a variety of short and long-term regional challenges in a cost-effective manner. There's things that we can do as a collaborative, can't do as a collaborative that we could do as a BOCES. So for example, we can tap into possibly municipal retirement to make it a more attractive position. We can look at other benefits that as a private nonprofit, we can't do. So by becoming a BOCES, and that is sanctioned by the state of Vermont, we have access to other kinds of supports and structures. There's also a nice $10,000 check for if our articles of agreement are approved. So we are really trying to be the first. No other district has even gotten as far as we have. There are no other collaboratives that are new in the state of Vermont. And so we want to get our articles of agreement approved and show that this is a resource, not just for our towns that are involved, this region, but across Vermont. And so our membership would include, and we're currently a member of the collaborative. We want to continue to be part of that. We have shared staffing resources, professional development initiatives. So any professional development that is offered, we get at a lower rate. Because we are geographically accessible BOCES programs, if we have shared needs right now, there are very few day programs for students with social emotional needs. In fact, there are none that are within less than 40 minutes from here. Makes it incredibly challenging. And we can get services at a reduced cost. So there's different things that we have tapped Jill to come in and do for us. And because we're members, we are not paying the full amount. She assists us with recruiting and hiring, support at reduced costs. Consultation has been critical. There are no special ed experts left in Vermont. I can say that with confidence. Our current director of special ed in the state of Vermont is an lovely young woman who really doesn't have the expertise of previous directors of special ed. And so Jill coming in, she ran her own collaborative in Massachusetts. I went down to visit it, working with intensive needs students in the whole northeast wing of Massachusetts, very diverse communities, highly successful. I'm sorry, Seth, go ahead.
I just had I mean, I'm familiar with the New York BOCES model.
Yes.
And first of all, I think it's a great idea. I just had two or three basic questions. One, is there a change in fees that the district will have to pay to be a part of this, or is it the same as kind of our current membership fee?
Correct, same fee structure.
So it's like no impact on the budget.
Correct.
In New York, there's a lot of procurement components to this, where they're doing contracts. I wasn't seeing that. It's more.
We haven't gone there yet, but for districts, for example, transportation.
Yeah.
So this BOCES for the Southeast could go in together and have a lot more pull if you want to go for a new bus contract.
Right, it's like
So-
collaborative participation.
Exactly.
And the legislation enables that.
Yes, it does. Yes.
And then, great, and then the third question was. How will this be adjusted with Act 73? And.
It's a
does-
seven, I'm sorry.
I mean, and does the current BOCES legislation outline regions? Is there anything in the current BOCES legislation that would impact how the redistricting consolidation staff is thinking about things? Are they even thinking about BOCES? Well, I'm sure some of them are. Anyway, how does it all work? How do you think it'll work together?
It's interesting because currently we are signing on as Mountain Views. If we make that agreement and I make that approval, we will sign on as Mountain View Supervisory Union. And just like any other joint contract,
Who knows?
who knows? Who knows? But we can't, as I keep saying, we're not gonna stop growing and doing the right thing.
I'm for it.
But yeah, so BOCES was a year and a half ago, 73 was in June. So has one thought about the other? Probably not.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go. So one agency with the ability to provide regional, efficient district and supervisory union solutions for all needs. So there, in order to move our articles of agreement for the Vermont Collaborative to become a BOCES, we as a board, or you as a board, would need to approve that. There's a motion in the packet that I would love to answer any other questions about the work. And I know Shayna's done a lot as a current student director of student support services, but any questions?
I just wanna say, this sounds wonderful, I appreciate all the work, I mean, it sounds very, very work heavy load, so I appreciate all that.
Thank you. We need the help, Brian. There really isn't. The applications we get for special ed, I mean, I know what I went through in grad school. There really aren't that many programs left. And the ones, the students that work, even if we're coming with a master's degree, we're retraining. And so this really gives us that expertise. And, we want another set of eyes. Like, we haven't got it all figured out. We know that. And it really is valuable to have Jill and other people with expertise to come in and say, if you tweak, if you do this, here's another way to think about it. Really means our students are getting the best program we can offer.
Great. And just to touch on CES, aren't the other town or districts that we would most likely be regionalized with already signed on to this? As in, I saw Windsor is Hartford.
Hartford is considering it.
Okay, cause I think that would answer the question of the regionalization. I mean, we're already part of it, they're already part of it.
I wish I
Makes sense.
knew where it was headed, but
It just
there
makes
are no-
sense.
So Two Rivers, so it's just below us, Ludlow,
Yeah.
they're signed on, Springfield signed on, most of the Wyndhams have signed on, so we do have a, really strong grouping there, so it is important to note, and AOE in the legislature, that we as superintendents have been working together for over 5 years. Zach McLaughlin from Springfield, previous superintendent, did a lot of work to move this forward, so it's been a great amount of work, but it's really paid off.
If anything, being first speaks to like our leadership and being a good regional player.
We don't mind being first.
Lara,
Yeah, so as far as the motion is concerned, do we need to vote on each of the 4 items in the book separately, or is this a one motion to rule them all?
I think we should, I'm not sure, so I would vote for doing all 3 separately, just so we don't have to come back and do it again.
Okay, then I
think-
move that the Mountain Views Supervisory Union Board vote to approve participation as a founding member supervisory union in the proposed Southeast Vermont Region Board of Cooperative Education Services, BOCES, under 16 VSA Chapter 2.
is there a second?
I'll second.
I think Josh got in there first. And Marlene, if you're not sure, just ask who is it?
That's okay, thank you,
Cause I know you may not
Yeah.
know everybody's
yeah,
name.
thank you,
And it's hard with that.
thank you, I got that one.
Okay, are there any more questions anyone has about number 1? All in favor of approving the first part of this, the articles of agreement, please say aye. Is there anyone opposed? And is anyone abstaining? All right, the ayes have it, it's approved. Would somebody like to propose number 2?
I'll go ahead. Move that the Mountain View Supervisory Union Board vote to approve and adopt the articles of agreement for the BOCES as presented.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions on that? All right, those in favor, would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, that one is passed. Number 3,
I move again that the Mountain View Supervisory Union Board vote to authorize the board chair to sign the articles of agreement and submit them to the Vermont Secretary of Education as required by the state legislature.
I'll second it.
thank you, Ryan. Any questions on that?
I know we got one.
Yes.
quick one, and that is, how do, I know we don't know, but how would this work? Like, would there be wording in there that said if Act 73 interfered? Okay, is there gonna be wording in there to protect us on that? Just curious. Like,
I think that
I don't,
there's nothing in concrete yet.
right, I just don't know, I was just questioning that,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
necessarily.
The articles of agreement are really a template that we really, there are elements, and we've been negotiating with AOE for a year now, and what those elements are, we're finding the language, and Jim has been part of that, so there really isn't an opportunity to incorporate
I
that.
think to answer his question, the articles of agreement include a way to dissolve the
Okay,
BOCES.
that's what I
no
was
longer
looking at.
necessary.
Thank you, Jim.
So if we get to 5 districts like the governor wants, and it's no longer required, there is a process for dissolving.
Okay, that's all I was wondering, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, are we ready to vote? I think we are. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right.
One
that
more piece.
Passes, one more piece.
And to authorize a supervisory union or school district representative to participate in organizational meetings and take all necessary steps to implement the BOCES in accordance with Vermont law.
I'll second.
You, Josh? Any questions on that? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right.
Yeah, that's 5 years of work.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we're not only part of the first group, we are the first board to approve the articles of agreement. So thank you all. I appreciate your support. This is really, really exciting.
And thank you, Sherry, for being so forward-thinking and finding, these materials and putting the time in on the many other committees that you also attend. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you.
All right, Sherry gets to speak again on the differences between a supervisory union and a supervisory district. I know that we all received a handout, several things from Corinne, including a video, and I will say that I had the time to thoroughly read and listen to the video. So I encourage, if you haven't had the time yet, since it just came out, it is helpful. I think the Rural Schools has put together a comprehensive look at the two items. We're not doing a comprehensive look tonight. We're just gonna have Sherry give us an overview.
So I just shared with you 2 documents. One's from VASBO in terms of a testimony that was provided last spring, when Act 73 was being formed, and another one from AOE. And really looking, so there are 3 different models. There's the school district, which is its own independent municipality when you're operating more than one school, or paying tuition, or operating some grades and paying tuition for others. Then there's the supervisory union, when you are not a municipality, you have board representation, you have a budget that's adopted and allocates among the member school districts. We are really a supervisory district because we have one teacher's contract, we have one school board, we have one set of policies, we have one budget and one tax rate. So we are coming together, and Jim and I talked about this. As a school district alone doesn't represent who we are, a supervisory union alone doesn't, but we as a supervisory district, and this is where we were really challenged pre-merger, where we had every school was its own district, which had its own contract, and in some cases had its own calendar and its own benefits. So when we had teachers teaching at multiple schools, teachers had multiple contracts. which had different days off and sick days, and it was incredibly challenging and difficult to move staff, and even getting staff to agree because it was so complicated. So by having one teacher's contract and one board, and you can see, especially those like Sam, who've been through many stages and iterations of the school board, having a unified approach in terms of what's happening in our buildings so that students all have the same curriculum and educational experiences before entering the middle school and high school has really impacted our student outcomes. So if we look at the three different models, I believe, and Jim would concur, the best is the description is a supervisory district. We know individuals where there are multiple districts within a supervisory union. That means up to 6 different, our friend Mike, 6 different budgets.
6 different, well, 7 with the SU, so.
Right, right. And you can imagine then the difference that the central office, finance office has when operating. There was one point in time where we had one school board member for every 4 students in the district. That wasn't that long ago. And it was every night was a different board meeting. And we really didn't have committees working, and we didn't have consistent policies. So for those of us who have been in the district, having this supervisory district, when we have that commonality, then we have the opportunities to do the other work that's, to me, more important.
And I had a question because on the website, we're called Mountain View Supervisory Union. And can you explain the piece with Pittsford or maybe Pittsfield, sorry, maybe Ray would like to describe why.
Jim would love to talk about that.
Because of the structure of the Vermont law, we have Pittsfield that's not a member of the Mountain View School District. And because they're a member of our community, but not of our district, we're forced by the law to have a supervisory union that is over both the Mountain View School District and Pittsfield. What that law does is create mountains of cumbersome work, because we have to do 3 separate audits. We have to loan people back and forth because the supervisory union is required to employ certain people, like special ed staff, like me. But the special ed staff are in the buildings, and if special ed puts on, or Sherry puts on some training, and we pay it out of a federal grant to a supervisory union, we have to add all the district employees to the supervisory union, so they can get the $200 stipend. And it's an absolute nightmare. Our audit costs us between $60,000 and $65,000. If we were one entity, it would cost us about 28 grand.
But we love Pittsfield and we want to keep them.
And this is not speaking against
Right.
Pittsfield, it's actually, we could do it much more efficiently if the law would allow us.
Well,
It doesn't.
and so this, because Pittsfield's a non-operating district without, which means they do not have a school within their community, and they have choice to other districts. Act 46 allowed for what we call a side-by-side. So we have our 7 towns who have students all within our district, and then Pittsfield sends the majority of our students to this Killington and our middle school, high school, and they remain and continue to want to remain to have
If
choice.
the law would allow our SU to merge with our school district and then support Pittsfield through services, the structure would save us probably $100,000 a year in cumbersome craziness, and Pittsfield would be served equally as well, if not better. So it's a structure of the law.
Right.
Maybe that's something to lobby for.
Vasbo kind of did in their letter.
I read that, yes.
Yeah, it was well written over. The structure of the SU, when you had 7 town districts, was important. It's not important to us anymore, because we don't have that type of work anymore.
Any questions for Sherry
Or Jim.
or Jim
Um,
or Ray?
may I ask a question from, first of all, thank you for clarifying this. All these years I've been writing about the school district and the supervisory union. I never knew which acronym to use when, and I've got a little bit better handle on it now, I think. I'm definitely less confused than I was previously, so thanks for the explanation. It seems like most of the time and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, when you're conducting business or making decisions or formulating budgets or policy, you are doing it as a school district rather than a supervisory union. Would that be broadly accurate to say?
Mostly accurate,
Yeah.
but stupid little things like to and from transportation is an SU expense, but all other transportation is a school district expense. So I have to take my transportation budget and distribute it among two different entities.
Oh, my.
The
Okay.
beauty of the structure of the law.
Well, if I'm ever confounded moving forward, I'll be sure to ask whether I should use MVSU or MVSD. But thank you.
NBSD really is all encompassing as far as I'm
Excellent.
concerned.
Good.
All right, Tom, that was your one-off, because normally we don't let the public speak during the board reports, but
Oh, I'm aware of
I
that,
let
but
it go, I let it go.
this is gonna be my story for this week, part of my story for this week, and I just wanted to make sure I had it right, so, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you, Sherry, and Jim, and, for clarifying these things. I think it's still a bit murky, and having read through the materials today. There's something else called the supervisory district. Is that the same as school district?
That really represents us the best.
Okay, so,
Yeah, so it's kind of the hybrid.
okay, so we should stop saying school district, really. Should say supervisory district.
Kids don't change
That
it.
would be more accurate.
Okay. Okay, very good.
It's a kidding.
The next item is an item that I asked to be put on the agenda regarding a Vermont superintendent being detained at the border recently. I did reach out to him and I just told him how sorry I was as to what happened. And I also wrote to the board chair and said the same, and that I would personally stand up for them if they ever needed that. And I did get a response. But if you don't know what happened, the Vermont superintendent from Winooski, Vilmer Chavarria, was returning from Nicaragua, where his mother lives. He was born in Honduras, raised in Nicaragua, but became a US citizen several years ago with a US passport. And when he arrived in Florida, he was detained for several hours with no real reason being given. And his cell phone, his school cell phone, and his personal device and his work device were seized by the border control. And he kept saying to them, listen, I've got confidential student records, you have no right. This is against the law, and they just took the devices, and he doesn't really know what happened in the other room. Ultimately, he was let go and returned to Vermont. But it just struck home to me that this is somebody from Vermont who's a US citizen being detained at the border. And so I just thought you might all want to know that. If you want to reach out to them or him, you're certainly welcome to. And I think that I've read a lot of stories about what's happening up in the north regarding detainments, etc. And it's really disturbing to me that there's laws that protect and they're not being observed. So I just wanted to, because it was so close to home, let you know. Winooski is the most diverse school in Vermont. 60% of their students are minority enrollees. Most of them came in through the State Department's refugee program, invited by the United States to be here. And some of those people have even been detained and or questioned. And so it's just, it's a time when I think all of us have to make our own decision where we are on these things, but when that happens, it makes me take note of the wrongness of it. So that's really all I wanted to say. So, thank you. All right, I think Jim is going to present the audit to us.
Sherry, would you bring up
Sherry,
the,
Before you move on, are you able to share that contact information with us so that we can reach out as well?
I will be glad to share it with you.
Okay. And I stand in solidarity with you. Thank you for sharing the information on a fellow superintendent.
So
Thank you.
Jim, what do you want?
First item,
Sorry.
so we finally have our fiscal year 24 audit, now we're in fiscal year 26. And, what I try to do every year is give you a Reader's Digest overview of the audit. And so the full audit's attached, and if you really want to read all 70 or 80 pages of it, please do. I want to show you the highlights quickly. Okay, Sherry, the next page.
Do you want to share, Jim, or you just like telling me what to do on that?
I love that, yes. So one of the most important things to me is the paragraph on page 1 that says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly all material respects the respective financial position of the district, and that's really important. It's not a qualified opinion. It is, they've had no findings in our work that, was important enough for them to highlight. Okay, so that's really important. Next page, please, Sherry, right there. One of the things that happens every year, and I struggle with this a little bit, is the auditors do a restatement of the prior year. When they're in working with us, if they find something that got reported incorrectly last year, they do a restatement. And so here in their note 21 on page 65 of the audit, they talk about the restatements. Okay, moving right along. On page 66, one of the important things,
66?
yeah, don't go scroll right there. Yeah,
Okay,
right there.
all right, so 600, I got it.
Actually go up one more. Okay. So restatement, these are the items they restated the general fund, they restated to and from other governments. And they restated reserve funds, so those are the items they restated. Note 22 is subsequent events. One of the important things in your audit is always to say, what happened after June 30th, that's material that people should know about. Every year on the first week in July, we sign a tax anticipation note, so we can pay our bills until tax revenues start coming in. We did that on June 30th on effective July 1st of 2024, for $3.6 million. It was a 1-year note, and it matured on June 30th to 25, and we paid it off. Next page.
Is that voted on, or is that,
Yeah.
is that a town meeting, or I just don't know how that authorization works?
It's authorized. The board is authorized to do this on an annual basis, and I would have to go back to the structure of the law to tell you how it's authorized. But it's authorized and it happens.
You don't have to take it to town meeting.
We don't take it to town meeting, no, the board has.
The board has the authorization
Yeah.
to,
The board doesn't have the authorization to do multi-year notes.
right, just a single year
Yeah,
tax.
and I want to qualify that, the board can do a 5-year note. But not as hand. Okay, on page 75, Schedule A, one of the things I wanted to point out is our budget that we adopted was 23,565,092. Our revenues that we received during that year was 24,639,000. Keep in mind that we started the year 1,300,000 in the hole, and we returned equity from the supervisory union to the district of 1,022,000. That's what's highlighted on that bottom line. When we take that out, we still had revenue in excess of $65,000 more than we budgeted, so we did pretty well that year. But keep in mind that we did have that huge deficit from the year before that we transferred back money because we had a lot of money at the supervisory union. Next page, please, Sherry. On the spending side, our budget was. I'm missing a page, but that's okay. Here we go. Our budget was 23 million. So one more page, Sherry, please.
Back or forward?
Forward, that one, yeah. Here we go. Our budget was 23,607,000. We spent 22,755,000, so we underspent our budget by $851,000. Which may sound like a lot of money, but it's only 3.5%. So when you're building your budget a year and a half in advance, to come in within 3.5% isn't too bad. Okay. The next page, which is page 19. Is our balance sheet. And one of the things to look at, and I highlighted, is what's your unassigned fund balance? Because your unassigned fund balance isn't cash in the bank, but it's what's available to use in the future. And I made a note because it was really important. Our unassigned fund balance on June 30th of 2023 was $1,457,560,000 negative. This year, it wasn't, it was positive. So, you know, we transferred money back from the district, return of equity. There was some deferred debt principal that really helped because when we really refinanced our bank note, we didn't have to make the bond payment until this November. So we had $839,000 that we didn't have to spend. And that was a huge part of bringing that positive to where it is now.
Thank you, Jim. Good work.
Okay, the next page, I talk about fund balance. But there's 5 different categories of fund balance. And I just want to run through them really quickly. Non-spendable fund balance is a non-cash asset or prepaid. For us, that would be food service inventory. It is RAF bought a service contract for software for $50,000 spread over 3 years. So that's year 2 and year 3 that are prepaid, that are part of that number. Restricted is legally restricted for specific purposes. That would be any of your federal grants, anything that comes in for food service, or any of the things that have a restriction on them, have fingers on them when you receive the money. Committed funds are restricted for a specific purpose and requiring a vote of the legislative body. Okay, the legislative body can be you, it can be the voters. Our restricted funds, or excuse me, our committed funds are our capital reserve funds. We don't have any other at the moment, but you could. Assigned funds are amounts intended for a specific purpose. Our most common use of assigned funds is end of year encumbrances. So Joe is in the middle of a project. It started in May, it doesn't finish till August. So we encumber the half of the project that's not done yet that we haven't paid for. That's the type of end of year encumbrance that we often have. 98% of them are related to Joe's projects because he only has 10 weeks to do them in the summer. And if he doesn't get it done this summer, then it starts next June. And so those are the types of things that end up there. And finally, the one that we all like, which used to be called surplus, but that's a 4-letter word, is unassigned fund balance, which is what's spendable, what's left.
When you go
Okay.
into the budget year next year, you will use, not use, leave it alone, the unassigned fund balance.
I will bring forward this unassigned balance and use some of this and offset the taxes, but not all of it.
Okay, keep a cushion.
The law doesn't allow us to keep much. That's why we accumulated at the SU, because the law doesn't care what we do at the SU. And so we accumulated at the SU, but yes, I'll use most of it because the law requires us to.
Yep.
Okay. When you get to the next page, which is page 10 of the audit, there are a couple things that are important to look at. At the end of 2023, we had $876,000 of current liability outstanding. In 2024, we had 2.9 million. Non-current liability, 4.9 million versus 8.5 million. What those are, the current liability, so the current portions of the JCI project, the heating system project, the roof in Killington, and the design of the new build that we were in the process of doing in 2024. The non-current was the increase in debt for the projects we did in 2024, the $4.4 million we borrowed, and the lease for the JCI project. So the 8.5 million was those two debts and the remaining debt on the middle high school from 2014. Okay, you can also see that we had a change in funds available. We had restricted of 1.2 million last year, which was money we were holding to complete the JCI project, which at the end of 2024 was 127,000. It's now zero. We paid out the last bit of it last week. And the unrestricted went from 1.5 million to a negative 147,000. So it worked out pretty well. Okay, one of the things I always look at is the change in net position. And that's on page 11 of the audit. And the change in net position, you look at what's changed and why. Because our net position dropped by $4 million, which could be serious if we didn't know what caused it. Okay, and so what caused it was $4.1 million in capital project retainage. What caused it was an extra $1 million in operations and maintenance that Joe had spent to keep the high school open that year. And those all changed our net position. And so they were legitimate. They eventually turned into a very positive net position, but at the point in time that this picture was taken, they had dropped our net position. Okay, what's important on page 12 is the unassigned fund balance. Again, it went from a negative 1.4 million to a positive 971 million. And 971,000, I'm sorry.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would be scared if it did, but that was important. We knew this. We talked about a little bit last year when we did the audit, and again, it worked out the way we wanted it to. Okay, what we're looking at on the screen now is food service. This was the last year of Gretchen. Had a 303, almost 304,000 deficit. Typically, food service has about a $200,000 deficit. So we had an operational problem that we spent too much money that year compared to the budget. Since she's gone, I've been working with Jen Lockhart, who is now running it, and we're back where we belong. What we do at the end of the year, some of that fund balance we have, we use it to pay this off so that the food service is whole at the end of each year. That's required under the food service program that we have to make it whole annually. So we do in arrears. So that 971,303 will go here. Okay, on the next page, we have a problem I want to talk to you about. We no longer run after school programs, but when we merged, mostly, we brought in $69,000 of deficits in the after school programs. We're out of that business now. The schools that still have it are in the process of contracting it out. And so I'm going to come to the board and ask you to do a one-time transfer of money to this to make this go away. It gets off our books and we move forward without it. And I know that it's supposed to stand on its own, but I'm going to ask you to do that one time and one time only. And the next page, you can see that part of that 38,000 came in from Barnard when we did the merge. The rest was from Killington or our other schools, which generally were breaking even, but not quite. And so again, this will be a one-time, we put it behind us, we move forward.
And now we just went from unassigned.
Unassigned fund balance, and you have the authority to do that. Okay, we hold a public hearing and then you do it. Okay, capital assets. Capital assets of the district is note 4. Real quickly, This just highlights the additions and the transfer or disposals. The additions, the majority of the additions are $1.5 million of building improvements. Majority of the detractions or disposals are depreciation on those buildings. So we increased our capital assets by about $500,000 through the transactions that we did that year. Note 5 quickly highlights again the tax anticipation note. It was 0, we borrowed 3.2, we paid off 3.2, and it was 0 at the end of the school year. Note 6 is our long-term debt. I talked about it real briefly, but it's it's $199,999 remaining on the high school bond from 2014. The $3.2 million, the $3 million for the JCI and the 4.4 for the construction projects bring us to a current balance on June 30th, 7.2 for those projects. And then the current portion is what got paid in 2025. The next page is more detail. I love detail, that's why I highlight it, but it's more detail of the payment structures. You can see, for instance, the high school bond only has 3 years left, and it's paid off. The other ones are longer, but you can see how the amount we pay drops each year. One of the other things, and there's
That's the bond of the original building?
no, we did a renovation.
Of the renovation?
Yeah. Note 7, other long-term debt, and GASB, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board, has changed this, and you'll see this change in our FY25 audit of how we accrue compensated absences and net pension. Compensated absence for us are the handful of teachers that had a retirement payout when they leave, a buyout of some of their sick leave, that they brought with them when we merged our district. We had a couple of those teachers retire this year. They're getting to the point that they are dropping every year, 1 or more teachers are leaving, that goes away. What is also in here is if on June 30th, I had 5 vacation days I didn't use, and I'm allowed to carry it forward, those vacation days are included in there. GASB's changing this, and you're gonna see that probably triple next year under the new GASB, because we have to now look at accrued sick leave and how I consume my sick leave, and then how much I'm gonna use in the rest of my time working here. So it's really crazy. The net pension liability is something we have no control over. That is our portion of the VEMR's Vermont Municipal Employee Retirement System, and that's attributed to us. If we closed our doors tomorrow and went out of business, we wouldn't have to pay that, somebody else would. But of the pie that's attributed to all of the participants, that's the portion that on June 30th was ours.
We're losing the crowd, Jim.
Okay. Accrued compensated absences, we already talked about that. Deficit fund balances, I highlighted the ones I want to highlight, there's a couple others that are highlighted here. Vistas is the Vermont retirement, teachers retirement system. And, what's important is actually on page 49, so the next page, Sherry, is they're assigning $18,149,717,000 of the state debt for that to us, because that's our portion of the huge deficit of that retirement system.
Great.
Okay, again, if we close the doors tomorrow, we walk away from it, it's not our problem. That was it in a nutshell. There's a lot of information in the audit. I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants the more in-depth reading of it. The supervisory union did well last year. I'm not gonna go through their audit. But similarly, our expenses were less than our revenues and, so we're in a good position.
Well, thank you for all
Any questions for Jim?
And at any point, if you'd like Ron Smith to come in, I'd be happy to bring him in too. He's our auditor.
That's in my contract, you will not be.
I think I sat through one of those. Okay, that was thorough. All right, I don't think we need to vote on this, but thank you very much, Jim, for all that and a lot of good news in there.
There's a lot of good news, there's a lot of information I didn't cover because it's there, but you don't care.
I'm glad someone does.
That's why we have Jim.
Thanks, Karen.
All right, we are now up to committee updates. I know that Matt is not here, but if somebody from finance would like to speak, you're welcome to do that. All right, policy committee,
Yep, so we have three policies that are for a second reading. We have discussed them before. I'm gonna present them just briefly, just to remind you, and then we can vote on them all together, if that's okay. The vote will, the vote is going to be, or I'm gonna request a vote for adoption at the September meeting. So the first one is C-71. Possession and administration of emergency medications. As you remember, this was in addition to another one we already have for student medication, but we decided that it was, they were different enough to have them both. The next one is C-15, student conduct and discipline, and really was just some updated legal language. And the third one is our cell phone and related technology policy. It's basically a shell policy, and actually since we started on this, it's now become law anyway, so it's basically consistent with Vermont legislative law. So, and we also did tweak the language to, as a suggestion last time, that it's tweaked to say to include but not limit to the technology, rather than just specify the technology, so that is in the policy. So for all those, I would like to seek a motion for all of them to be pushed the next meeting, which will be in September, so adopted in September. We have to bring them up again, but.
okay. Any questions on that? Any of those for Elliot? All right, would somebody make a motion to move all three for adoption next meeting?
So moved.
I second. Thank you. All in favor of moving these forward to adoption in September, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, thank you very much for that. Buildings and ground?
We do
Judy,
not,
you have a report?
yep, we did not meet last month. So we do not have any new information for you guys.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Negotiations, hiring and retention committee.
If there's any updates.
I think we're just waiting for the final draft to go to the support staff for approval. Yeah, for their vote. Working groups, communications. Nothing after that. Okay, thank you, Gina, and working group for the hub regional build. So this is your opportunity to speak to. Anything you'd like to speak to?
Okay, I attended the working group. First, I want to say thank you for all of you who appointed me to the open seats. I hope, I appreciate your confidence, and if you didn't have any confidence, I hope that I can make a contribution and live up to your expectations or change them. To get started, following the first meeting of the Regional Hub Build Committee, I sent a memo to the board today. The goal of the memo is really just to outline a plan that we could build consensus on how to take an updated rebuild proposal to town meeting and the spring of 2026. It talks about, I essentially wrote this memo based on input from the committee, the staff here, some of the board members, and just my own observations as a resident. And my goal is to get feedback from the board. It talks about how any proposal should really address three factors. One is voter feedback from the 24 vote, including expense and size. Two, state education reform, really how we support Act 73. And three, really the urgency we all feel as every year the building moves closer to failing. The memo suggests 5 criteria, or five key actions for accomplishing our goal of passing a bond. And they're really essentially articulating, number one, articulating what a regional hub plan is and building consensus for all member towns as well as the state's board of education. Number two, urging the state board to honor their 2024 preliminary approval with additional capacity. This means really support a modified pre-approval that would align with Act 73. And then 3, we have to pass legislation that would decouple per pupil spending from capital projects. 4, I think our goal would be to influence the redistricting process to make sure that any plans or leadership or, best practices that we have could be incorporated into their plans and considered. I think there's limited guidance around what a regional hub is. But it's also so that's a lack of clarity, but it's also an opportunity for us to help define what it could be. And then obviously a big concern is the fifth thing is to influence state legislation related to school funding and construction. That would be really key to helping to lower the cost per square foot for any new proposal, getting some kind of state match and making sure that that is included. So I described 5 to 6 strategies for accomplishing those things, and I'm not going to go through all of them tonight, but I think the first thing that we could do tonight, and this is the first strategy, and it's updated on the digital copy because this is really a strategy which is formalize the working group via public call for interest. And in my view, this would be an important thing that we could do tonight. I would think that we would want to be thoughtful and intentional about the makeup of this group to ensure that it's inclusive, it has representatives from the 7 towns, and it has members with the skills and time to help address the challenges that we talked about here. I think if we're going to do something different that came in 2024, it needs to start with how we structure the group that's running that. And there might be people who want to have interest or who have interest and want to take part. Maybe we don't get any and we end up with a lot of the same folks, but at least we would have asked. And I think if any of us know folks who, are listening right now or are out there that want to be involved, this will be a good opportunity. So I suggested a format for that we have 1 community member from each of the 6 towns, 2 community members from Woodstock. I thought that was proportional, I think, for how the board membership is done. Obviously, I think the board chair should be on there and, up to 4 board members, potentially a student and a teacher, and then we should have a 1-year term. I would think that the staff and all the key kind of leadership staff that are here tonight and others would be important to participate as non-voting folks. And, I articulated who the working groups could be. Anyway, we're going to talk about this at the committee meeting on Wednesday. But I do think if the board thinks it's a good idea, about doing an open call to action, that's something we should consider tonight. I would just hate to do something out of inertia and be like, oh, the same people came back or people didn't know they could take part.
So by that stuff, you mean have put it out to our communities now, like through social media, et cetera, to say, if you're wanting to be part of this committee, you should come, or make it known?
Correct, and say at the September board meeting, we plan to appoint this committee. We're working on a volunteer basis, kind of on a reorganization capacity right now. That was what this last meeting was on July 22nd. It was really just like, you send an email to people who've been involved before or expressed interest, but there might be other people out there.
Right.
And we should make sure we, leave no stone unturned.
And maybe communications committee gets out to you about times, and Tom's here tonight. So that we really use a lot of different platforms.
So we're reconstituting this board, this this committee.
The working group, we would just say, hey, if you wanna be a member, put your name in by, August 31st, then we'll consider it at the board meeting and make appointments at that board meeting.
I'll just say, what you've already put together and stuff is more than I've done as a board member at 4.5 years, and we've been here a week, so I already appreciate the hell out of all this, and how thorough it is and your explanation, so thank you for joining us. And being ready to put so much forward, like sounds awesome, I love the inclusive approach, getting, the naysayers involved as well. Personally, I feel like we didn't put as much listening and effort into swaying a lot of those from the last time. So to hear that part of the focus moving forward for this time is already exciting to me. And again, I appreciate you joining this one.
Anyone else have a comment or a question?
I have a couple more things and then I'll stop talking. If you guys wanna do that tonight, the appointment of the committee, I think that would be a good call because of timing, because I think time is not on their side. Number two, there's one other thing I think we could do tonight, and that's something I talked with Gina about, is one of the big tasks towards being able to, and Jim, I guess you would agree with this, one of the big problems with having capital debt is that we currently, as the legislation is structured, we would go into the penalty for any capital debt. And that's because they've coupled per pupil spending and capital projects together. And that is something that's going to affect every district. That's something that has to be done in the next legislative session. It's gonna have to be changed. It's just inevitable. It's not a question of whether it's gonna be done, it's when. And I think we could lead on that by drafting a letter that could come from our district and other districts. We could try to get as many districts as possible to sign, to send to the legislature to request that they address this in an emergency session in the fall, as emergency legislation. I think that would at least put them on notice, and I think it would shine a light on the problem every district is struggling with. So, I think that's something we could start, and if I think Gina and I have talked about starting to draft it, so it would bring something back for consideration in the September meeting, if that sounds like a plan. Okay,
It sounds like a good plan to me. I don't know that do we need to vote on
I don't
that?
think we need to vote on that. I think that's just like an informative thing about the
Yeah.
two things that we're getting started with, besides reorganizing, getting kind of a plan together, and then starting to address this legislation that's needed everywhere.
I think that's great. I think it's a great start. I mean, so the meeting on the 22nd was excellent. A lot of board members did attend. Board members are always welcome to attend any meetings of any committees and any working groups. You could really have quite a life for yourself. But, yeah, and folks in the various communities, it would be really helpful if you could help find supportive and or people who want to learn more about why we need a new school from your communities. You are more than welcome to suggest names, talk to people and suggest that maybe they put their name in, because you're probably more the experts in your own committees than others. So thank you for that. Thank you, Seth.
Do we need a vote to approve this idea of a new working group?
Yeah.
An open call?
I think so. I think that would be a good idea.
Yes. I make a motion.
Well,
to-
can I ask you a
Oh.
question first? So does a working group generally have that structure that is outlined in here as well, like with term limits and all that has?
Not term limits so much, but the working groups have been a mix of community and board members. So they, the board members are the ones who
Okay.
can vote if there's something that needs to be voted, but certainly when we did the reconfiguration for the Prosper Valley School, we had many open meetings with lots of people and,
And the core group did vote within working group to
yes,
bring pieces of work to the board and the
Right.
board voted.
I guess I just wanted to know the difference between a committee and a working group in terms of what the structure is, or what the,
Committee's kind of a standing committee for the
Okay.
various aspects of the board work, but a working group is a pop-up.
okay,
if
Like
you
a
will.
committee's forever.
Right.
And we have four
Right.
identified based on our
Okay.
structure.
okay,
finance
just-
function.
yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think this whole structure has to go, it's just like, if we wanna have a structure and be transparent about how it works. Here's the structure.
right, right.
Right, and, you know, perhaps the vote is to put together a new structure and then the working group can.
Yeah, we could have
Hammer it out.
we could approve the structure at the next meeting
Yeah.
and would then be people's input, but if we did a call for input for volunteers or for participants, that would be good.
Okay, so would somebody like to propose that we're going to put out a call for volunteers to join the working group?
How are we gonna, select that, those members? It's this model.
I don't think we
Is-
have a process for that. I think
Okay.
that would be something we would do in September, most likely.
I think the suggestion that I was making was that the board would decide. This board,
Yeah.
This board.
Yeah.
One
Decide not the
thing I
five
think we
person
could
board
all
you're talking about,
the board of, yeah, this group right here.
the working, so
No,
the full
School
board.
board.
Alright, okay, that's what.
You.
What?
You and him. are-
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because you got two different boards working here, you have
I got.
the 5 member board you're talking about for the. The working group structure, or the entire board, so we're just trying to figure out,
This is the 15th.
I'm saying this group,
the 15 or the 5?
I'm saying this group appoints the 15,
Okay,
right? Or it would be, you know, whatever the ones that are appointed, we choose which ones, and everybody would put their name.
And the link for the Wednesday meeting is somewhere within the emails or something like that.
I think the agenda has it been posted? I know
I
that
don't think so.
Janet was supposed to reach out to you for an agenda, so that should be out tomorrow. Because
Yeah.
today is Monday, so we need to get
Has
it
to
out.
be out
Tuesday.
within 20.
so are we gonna pick, are we doing the 5 people from the board according to this tonight, or are we doing that in September as well as the community members?
I think today is just to get it out to see who wants to put their name in to be part of
Yes,
it. I'll make a motion to move that forward. I don't know the proper terminology, but
You can move the motion.
there we go.
I'll second
second
it.
it.
This is Anna.
okay, we'll let Anna have this one.
Oh, thanks. I've been unmuting as quickly as I can.
All those in favor of having a structure and putting out a call for participants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Great, thank you.
That's it.
10%. All right, we do need to approve the minutes of the June 24th and the June 17th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second
Need a
again.
second? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we had a late resignation. The counselor at West, Erin Klochek, has resigned her position to accept another position. And so we need to vote to approve the resignation with regret.
So can I just speak about Erin? So she has been our elementary school counselor at West for many years. She was really critical, during some very challenging times when Prosper Valley moved into Woodstock Elementary, when we were having significant behaviors when students returned from COVID. Erin has really been steadfast and consistent, and she really helped bring in our social emotional coach, Jess Stroud. So I really want to say thank you. She accepted a position closer to home where her children are. She's been commuting from Plainfield, New Hampshire all these years. So I know it was a heavy heart that she is moving on, but she's done amazing work and has been a great partner with teachers and families and students. She will be greatly missed.
I'd like to add, I've had 3 kids through West with her being present and all had a pleasant experience with her, and her professionalism is unmatched. So, thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve the resignation with regret?
Awkward. So,
So that's all you need to say.
I'll second.
Okay, John, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have an opportunity for public comment. If anyone would like to make a public comment, they are welcome to do so now. Okay, we have two executive sessions. One is around a contract matter, and one is a personnel matter. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Can I
opposed?
hear who, can you tell me the names of the people who firsted and seconded that, please?
Okay, who?
Josh made it,
I
I
made it.
second.
Josh, Ryan.
Josh and Ryan,
One,
thank you.
two. Okay, going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we are now going to go into executive session. Thank you. We have left our executive session with no decisions made. Now we need to go into another executive session on a personnel matter.
I'll make the motion again.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Yes. All in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Jim, you should stay.
Any abstentions?
Okay, who were those two people again? Sorry,
It was
Ryan and John.
Gina.
Ryan and
Gina.
John, thank you.
No, Ryan and Gina.
Shoot.
Ryan and Gina.
It was- Josh made the motion, Gina second.
Oh, Josh made the motion, Gina seconded it.
So the same
Can somebody
people
vote?
who voted, who made the motion to come out were the people who made the motion to go in the second one?
So going into the second one was Ryan, no, with Josh and Gina.
Okay, so Josh and Gina voted, moved to go out of the first one and to go into the second.
Nah, man, you guys all screwed up now.
Both times first.
Just say
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
it's all good. So Sherry's,
And no action was taken by the board.
when we still have one more thing, board, we have our time to process our self-evaluation and implement recommendations for improvement.
We should use this as the template for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8:16, that's great.
16 with two executive sessions.
We'll implement.
Multiple and an audit.
Maybe,
Oh, yeah.
maybe the 2-minute thing for the public comment could happen for the other
Yeah.
things.
Oh, audit.
I just want to say, as I feel like the default motioner, I really appreciate other people stepping up tonight and taking that role. It's fantastic. Thank you. I hope that this continues.
Make your voices heard.
And thank you all for coming in August. This is not typical stuff. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Make the motion.
Josh, was that Josh again? Okay, and I think on a second.
I'll
she got it.
second that. Yeah.
All in
Thanks, Josh.
favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Good.
Good night. Thank you all.